live on a Friday morning, clippical.com, and we've got Suhayl Issa back, thank God, because we tried to get him the other day, and we just couldn't connect for some reason. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes I just don't feel a connection. But this morning, connection, and Suhayl's in the studio in Rivonia, so thank you for coming all the way through, dude. Also, Leigh-Ann Mole's here, and most importantly, you have decided to wake up and join us this morning. So let's get the show on the road. It's another Good Friday. My God, it's like a couple of days left of February. We've already got war in Ukraine. So, I mean, don't claim that you're not living in an interesting time, right? Don't say, I'm bored. I need to watch a better series on Netflix. There's enough shit happening in the world around you to keep you pretty much entertained. So, Suhayl, nice to see you, dude. How are you? What's news?
Great, man. Thanks for having me. Finally here in the studio where the Wi-Fi is much better than my house, I think.
Well, I don't know if it was even just the Wi-Fi, but sometimes it just doesn't. You notice the technology will just mess with you sometimes. You can have all the best intentions, you can do all the prep and the planning, and go through everything the day before, and you're like, this is going to be perfect, and you know it's important, so you're not paying attention, and then suddenly it just all fucks out right under you.
Completely.
Yeah.
I know.
That's how it goes. Hey, listen, first of all, we've just got to tell everybody, because your TikTok video, I think it was on TikTok you first posted it, the Tinder Swindler thing, has gone everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. It's bloody fantastic. But you do a lot of stuff on there, and I mean, it seems to me like you're growing a hell of an audience, and you have fun doing that, or is it hard work?
Look, it's a lot of hard work, but it is also very enjoyable. A lot of people don't understand how much that goes into actually putting together content and to put out like really good quality content. And so, to be honest, like I started that journey, the content one, not the stand-up comedy one, about a year ago. And I've been working on putting out like quality videos on TikTok, but more importantly on YouTube, because I've been doing my stand-up comedy tour over the last year.
Yes.
And so I put out my stand-up comedy clips from the shows. I have been visiting like these small towns and doing shows all over South Africa. So I've been to like places like Zeerust. Do you know where Zeerust is?
Jesus, that sounds horrific.
Zeerust, yeah. It's in the Northwest Province. It's like this tiny town. Went there, did a show, and before the show we went and we toured the town, ate at the like famous popular places in town.
Famous,
so you get like a full on.
There's a famous place in Zeerust that we didn't know about.
Yeah. Well, famous to them, not necessarily to us. So yeah, before all of my shows, I go out to these towns. I visit their famous heritage sites, visit their most popular places to eat at, and we film that entire tour, and then we chop it up and put it on YouTube. So that's what I've been doing over the last year, and then also putting out some of that stuff on TikTok in shorter formats, and also on Instagram. But yeah, I'm focusing on that.
That Tinder Swindler video of yours has had like more than 1.5 million. It must be even more by now. Views.
Yeah,
that's an incredible. I mean, in terms of like online success for people watching something, that's pretty damn good. Considering, what do you think it is? And Leigh-Ann, you were the one who told me about this Tinder Swindler. What do you think it is about that story that grabs people so much? Is it just because I think I might know what it is? It might just be that people like to feel, oh, those are dumb people. I would never be caught out like that. You're on mute. How embarrassing.
It's all about the fact that...
What? You've gone back onto mute. I don't know what happened there. It's like it's switching itself on.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. All right, just...
move it. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Can happen to anyone. Still not.
No. Yeah, go out and come back in. I think your microphone settings are a bit fucked. All right, so Suhayl, what do you think it is that makes people watch that?
I think the Tinder Swindler, I suppose there's many layers to it. So there's the one aspect where, it's a show about this really controversial guy who cons women
to say the least.
Into giving him lots of money. But the whole I think the whole appeal of the story is that there's two completely different sides to it.
Yeah.
And I think depending on which side you fall on, you'll be more attracted. So you either pro, well, I wouldn't say pro. No, I don't think anyone's pro Simon. I don't think anyone's pro the con.
I haven't met anyone who went, oh, you know what? He's such a good guy. He should have definitely not gone to jail, and he shouldn't be hated by so many people. And I'm on his side. I've never met anyone who said that.
I haven't met anyone yet to say that, but I have met a lot of people who went to say, okay, but should we really feel that sorry for all of them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of a superiority thing going on, like, oh, I would never fall for that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think a lot of people say I would never have fallen for it, but then a lot of people also say, well, why did they fall for it?
Yeah.
Why did they go that deep into debt for this guy they met on the internet, you know?
People love this. People are talking about it everywhere. I went for a lunch on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday, one of the two. And I could actually hear the table behind me. Oh my God, did you hear about the Tinder Swindler? That's all they were talking about the whole time. So I just want to go to Tracy's comment here. She says, for me, the fact that the Tinder Swindler got figured out and caught out is why it's a good story. He may not have gotten punished, but he got caught out, busted on a grand scale. Maybe that's also it, because people do love it when someone busts.
Yeah, when the con man gets caught.
Yeah.
No, that's always a cool moment. But I mean, this guy's been at it for years.
Yeah.
Like if you read about the background history and the story, like he was in South Africa for a while. Apparently, he went to Rhodes University, and he was well, I don't know if he successfully swindled anybody there, but
probably did. They're too embarrassed to say they're too embarrassed to say it. You know, like the ones who actually went, the ones who were in the documentary. Those are the ones who actually would admit that they'd been swindled. Like a lot of people are. Oh yeah. I mean, I mentioned this on, I think it was Tuesday. I know somebody. She had a similar situation. She was basically catfished online by this dude who may or may not have been real. But there was always some excuse when it came to actually meeting him, and he lived overseas, and there was this and there was that. There was always some murky shit going on. And she's too embarrassed to even admit this to her close friends. I mean, she told me one night, I think she might have had something to drink or whatever, but she eventually told me, but she won't say anything to anybody. And Bakabantu says exactly the same thing. He says, it's schadenfreude, makes people feel better about their suffering, makes them feel better than other people. And that's exactly what it is. I think that's a huge part of this. Huge part of it.
Yeah, no. I think the one aspect of like the Tinder Swindler is how I found it weird at the beginning when all these women, they sort of, when they start talking about him and they start talking about the story, how excited they seem. And then at the end of it, like when you find out exactly what happened, you're like, this was shot after the whole thing where you guys are in debt and your lives are like screwed. And you guys sound excited when you talk about how you first met him and how these butterflies.
Yeah.
And I think
they almost sound like they're falling in love again, right?
Yeah. It's like weird. It's so weird. That was one of the weirdest things I found when I finished watching it. I was like, how do you guys talk about him? Like even after all of this has happened, how do you guys still talk about him like this? This is crazy. And I think for a lot of people, and maybe a woman, they look at this and go, yeah, no, I would never. As you said, I would. There's no possible way.
That's what I've heard. I've heard people say, I don't believe how stupid those girls were. They were so stupid. Why are you laughing?
No, because it's so true. What I was going to say, it's something that can happen to everyone, but you think it'll never happen to you. And you think that you're above and beyond those people.
Yeah.
That's why it's so lekker to watch.
Well, there's something else we've got to talk about, because this is hilarious. And I put up a thing yesterday. I don't know about you guys. I'm trying to be a slightly more evolved person now. I'm trying not to be the kind of reactive, sarcastic, sometimes very mean person that I used to be. Because I mean, if I look back 10, maybe 15 years, I'm like, oh God, that guy was such a dick. And I mean me. But I saw all these people yesterday. With the Ukraine-Russia situation, which is also, for some people, it's very confusing. And I don't blame people for being confused, because if you turned on CNN for 5 minutes, and then you turned on Russia Today for 5 minutes, bless you, I suppose.
Thanks.
And you turned on Russia Today for 5 minutes, you would see two completely different takes on what's going on in the Ukraine at the moment. And you wouldn't feel like you were even on the same planet watching those two news sources, because both are basically propaganda, and they're both giving you entirely the one side of the story, right? I mean, CNN is basically a proxy for the Ukraine, who's really being proxied here by the United States and the EU. And then on the Russian side, you've got RT. The best source I found for news, by the way, is Indian. There's a channel that this is phenomenal, but I'm talking about English-speaking Indian media, right?
Yeah.
And there's a brilliant channel which I actually watch quite often. Even for American politics, they're far ahead of the rest of them, because these guys don't have a dog in this fight, so they tend to be more objective. And I have to say also, Indian media, there's still a huge, there's pressure on media organizations in India to be objective. They still do it right in some places. And I'll give you the name of this particular one now. It's called WION. And they really are fantastic. WION is really, really good. So if you're looking for a news source that is outside of the usual propaganda bullshit, then WION is very, very good. And you can find them on Facebook. I follow them there. There's some very, very good presenters. They are painstakingly finicky about getting it right, and they don't talk shit. So I like them. I really do. If you're looking for a source, that's a good one. But what I noticed was, there are all these people all over South Africa, and on look, I'm only really on Instagram. I don't check the others very much anymore. And they're all posting pray for Ukraine stuff. So I just suddenly, I don't know what happened. I just got really pissed off, and I went on and I posted this thing. I just basically said, well, let me read it to you, and then I don't, get quote myself out of context.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So here we are. So I said, first of all, I said, avoid strip clubs today, because nobody likes a sad stripper with the Ukraine flag and the Russian flag, which was
Gareth. What were you saying earlier?
Yeah, I mean, but that was just looking for shit. And I mean, it's a funny thing, right? Here's what I said. I said, please, if you don't know where to find Ukraine on a map, or you don't know anything about Russia, or you haven't got friends and family there, stop posting this pray for Ukraine bullshit, when we can all see that what you're really trying to do is show strangers what a good person you are. It's transparent as fuck.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, it got a huge amount of very positive attention. People are like, yes, I agree. Because you've got these people who are, they're dumb Instagram booty showing influencers. And they're putting up pictures of the Ukraine flag with peace doves and shit. And you're like, excuse me. I don't think for a second you even know what's going on there. I don't think you know where the place is. I don't think you care where the place is. You want everyone else on the internet to think you're such a good person because you're posting something about, you hear the word war and you hear the word Ukraine and you're like, if I say something about how I don't like war, people will think I'm a nice person.
Yeah, but it takes one other person to do it that they see. They see one other person with this and they think, oh, I must have it too. And I do believe that there's FOMO, fear of missing out, or just fear of seeming irrelevant, especially after the Black Lives Matter.
Oh, yeah, when everyone is posting a little black square because they don't want to be left out.
If you didn't, then
you must have been a racist.
You were racist. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
now
I think
everyone's really quick to jump on it.
I think it's just virtue signaling at its finest.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, people just want to seem like they're woke and they're politically in tune and they know what's going on.
I think they want people. I don't think they even care that people know whether they think they know what's going on or not. It's more about just, I'm a good person. They want you to. They want automatic points just for posting that shit that makes them a good person. Like, oh, people will think I'm a nice person if I put this up, and nobody does. I mean, nobody. People just scroll through that shit. They don't care. The stuff I'm looking for is like WION, or someone who has an interesting take on it, or even like my stripper joke. I that kind of stuff is hilarious. There was this video going around yesterday of all these girls in like clear heels and very short skirts getting out of a taxi, but like 20 of them in this taxi, and then someone had added the caption "Evacuation in the Ukraine."
Oh my
Now,
God.
I know that there are people. No, listen, I mean, I actually have been watching the real news on what's going on there, and it's clearly a very serious situation. But it's also this didn't come out of nowhere. People have been talking about this for 5 years and waiting for Putin to pull the trigger. And we can't now go, oh, isn't it terrible? Because no one who's saying, isn't it terrible now, was saying that 3 years ago. They weren't even paying attention. So I don't buy it at all. I really don't. And I'm not going to feel bad about joking about things like that either. I started joking very soon after 9/11. So, call me whatever you want. Anyway, you also have a problem, Suhayl, with these people who are obsessed with motivational quotes. And again, it's sometimes, I don't find it's always women, but it's sometimes women. And maybe even the same women who fall for the Tinder Swindler. But what is it with these motivational quotes? I mean, what is it that irritates you, first of all? And just give us a better understanding of what exactly you're annoyed by.
I get annoyed. Okay, those like, it's just something I suppose it's an observation of mine. Those accounts, those like Instagram accounts that are just like girl boss quotes daily and motivation for the ladies. I mean, look, everybody has their own. I'm not just saying it's women, but I have noticed a trend towards women. It's just like the most random stuff, like inspire, motivate, breathe. Like, what were you doing before that?
Yes.
How are you living up till now?
Yeah.
Like the most like mundane type of nonsense to try and get you through your day. Like, what? You can literally achieve your dreams if you just wake up and do the work that you need to. Why?
I feel like
why?
I feel like you could be in the process of making another brilliant video here, which I think might go.
It's so embarrassing for a lot of other women like me who sit and laugh at these things and who is totally turned off by them. There is a bit of motivation that I can work with and that I need every now and then. Sometimes it's good to hear that you're okay and normal.
Sure. But I mean, wouldn't it be better? You almost feel like shame. People who post that kind of stuff, no one is phoning them. No one's saying to them, hey, are you all right? It's like they live in this vacuum where actually no one cares about them very much. And that is sad.
I think they're actually quite clever. I feel more sorry for the people who scroll through those things and feel inspired by them. Yeah.
Well,
like I saw one recently.
You quoted, you're going to tell me, because I've got some examples here of like I even took a screenshot or two of one of these. Horrible.
Yeah, it's like they'll just like throw out the most, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Sometimes it's just random. It's just like, oh, just girl, you can do it. Just wake up early, drink water, squat, eat your vegetables. Like, whoa. At least focus here. Have a goal in mind. Like you just said, to fetch your goals. Okay, well, is squatting and eating vegetables? You sound like a crazy person. Who is squatting and drinking water?
Just don't get confused and then eat and then squat your vegetables.
Yeah, squat your vegetables and like inspire, motivate, breathe. Do people think that like women like Winnie Mandela with tear gas in her face was going, yeah, just inspire, motivate, breathe? Well, I can't. Squat, eat my vegetables, slay in your lane. What does that mean?
Slay in your lane. My worst one is you are enough.
Oh my!
Jesus, I hate that. It's like, what were you I mean, like, how do you get to the point where someone saying you are enough is what you needed to hear?
Yeah, but guys, motivation stuff for men has been around for a long time. Like, what? I can't think of examples now, but all about power and strength and, that type of stuff. And gym
Oh no,
stuff.
men have their own
Hardcore
ones
gym
too.
stuff.
Gym
Yeah,
stuff.
it's just like that. That's the male motivation ones. It's just like hardcore gym, just like a huge buff guy in a tank top coming out like lift and be better. That's it.
Yes.
That's all we needed to hear.
Yeah, be a man.
All you
and
needed
so-
to do is
so
this,
Okay.
and that's it. Your life's better.
But I
The
think
girl
that's
stuff
just
is
as dumb.
is fairly recent. The girl
That's
stuff is
just-
like
no,
girl
it's just-
power. It's a whole awakening, empowerment
sorry.
thing.
All that gym stuff is just as dumb.
Yeah, it's just
It's-
equally
it's
as dumb.
as stupid. I don't think the one is dumber than the other. They're both
Yeah.
stupid.
Crash today.
Or some of them are almost like business motivational for the guys, like make your circle smaller so that you get bigger.
That's such crap. Oh, I hate that. Oh my god. All right, now we've got that off our chests. Now we've complained about that stuff. So listen, there are a couple of people here who are disagreeing with us. So first thing is hanging out with Jay says, guys, don't be so cynical. There's a major war going on. Most people do feel some sort of sympathy because we are otherwise helpless, are the ones who care in the streets protesting. No, listen, this is not World War III. And even though all the media outlets that I mentioned earlier who you can't trust are making it look like World War III because they're hoping to get ratings out of it. You know that, right? You know how ratings work. I mean, CNN is basically slavering at the chops. The more bodies that pile up, the happier they'll be because they think that that's going to restore some kind of rating success to them. And it won't. It won't, because the only people who are going to watch them from now on are people who actually want to be lied to and who are either blissfully unaware and ignorant, and by ignorance, I mean willful ignorance. Like they've chosen to tune in to CNN to watch this shit. So you're ready to be lied to. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. That's kind of what it's going to be. Or it's because they've been told a story over the last while, which has become the story they believed. And that could be CNN, but it could be Russia Today. It could also just be like bullshit that you've read in a newspaper. And there are lots of them that are trying to make this look like the biggest war in the world. Now, we haven't had a big war, and we should be grateful for that in the world for a long time, right? And by big war, I mean multinational, kind of on all fronts. I think really you could say that the Afghanistan-Iraq war was probably the last multinational war that was really fought on an international scale. And thank God for it. Like, be very, very afraid of anyone who's like, we need another war, because those are not good people. And second of all, if you understand this whole Ukraine-Russia thing, and I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe about it now, these are two countries which are actually very, very close together. They've been part of the same country. Ukraine only existed from 1991. There have been puppet kind of presidents installed by Russia. The EU has been trying very hard to welcome the Ukraine into their arms because Europe is hugely reliant on Russian oil and gas to keep warm in winter. It's that simple. Like if you don't get Russian oil and gas at a good price in winter in Europe, and that goes for almost all of Europe, I think the only country that has said they're going to cut this Nord Stream pipeline is Germany. But the rest have said, we need you. So there's this awkward kind of thing where they can't precisely cut themselves off from Russia and say, you guys are the bad guys, because then the Russians will go, cool, we'll just put up the price of oil and gas. Let's see how you do in the next winter.
Do we have a good enough? Do we have anyone producing vodka in South Africa? Because I think that's my main concern.
I hear there's a Russian bear that does a decent job.
Are you planning a vodka weekend? Is that your? Because I mean,
No, I just suddenly thought you were talking about gas and fuel, and immediately I think about alcohol. And if we're going to run short of things from Russia,
I wonder if the
dolls I can
influencers
do
know.
without, but the vodka is a problem.
Yeah, I wonder if those same influencers that were posting the peace flags know that Russia will increase the price of vodka if they keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and Robin says it is the middle of winter too in Europe. It's very cold there at the moment. Russia are real bastards. Well, it's also they're striking at this time, and I said this yesterday on the show with Pumi, because they know Biden is like, he's this doddering old man, and what the hell's he going to do? You know, they're not afraid of him. I don't think there's anyone who's afraid of Biden.
Has Biden actually
Mm.
met with Putin at all?
Well, not recently, but he had met with him a short while ago, and they saw, I think they saw each other at the G8 or G5 or G20 or whatever the G is at the moment. You know, all those very important countries get together and have a summit. But Vladimir Putin's been playing this game since the 90s. He's an old hand at this now. You know, while I think before Joe was vice president, Vladimir Putin was already president of Russia. So that's a long time ago. And if you think also about the fact that Russia is just this, it's basically like Russia's not a first world economy. It's a nuclear power, but it's not a very sophisticated place. It's quite a hard country, as anybody who's been there will tell you. And the Russian people are hard people. You know, they've been through a lot of shit, from the czars right through to communist Russia, which was not anybody's idea of a picnic. Many millions of people who didn't make it through World War I, didn't make it through World War II, and then the Cold War was upon them. And like Russia just mobilized to the point where everything came second to their military might, and they poured all of their resources, their money, their manpower, their labor into creating the USSR and competing with America as much as they could to basically be the world superpower. You know, you may have been born in that era, or you may have been born just after it, but that was a major, major thing. And then, of course, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics collapsed, and they all broke away into these separate countries: Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Armenia, Ukraine, Belarus. You know, these were all Belarus. These were all breakaway republics of what used to be the USSR. And then you had that drunk Boris Yeltsin. Remember, he was always drunk.
Always.
He used to fall asleep and shit. I mean, he was like the worst leader.
Trip on the carpets and the runways.
But he was pretty much hammered 24/7. I mean, that guy, I don't think he even knew what the hell was going on. You think Biden's a deranged old fool? Like Boris Yeltsin, they had to have 3 or 4 people just to pick him up because he would pass out, you know, wandering around with him. And that guy became the president of Russia. And then after that, you had Vladimir Putin, who came in and was like, okay, enough of this embarrassing shit. Let's get Russia back on track. He's massively popular.
Let's get shirtless and get on a horse.
Right. But he knows, everybody said to me, and by everybody, I mean like a lot of these political analyst types said to me 10 years ago, oh, strongman politics is over. And those
Crush
people
today.
The crush today people. They're like, those people are finished. Now we're going into an era of enlightened leadership, you know, people like Jacinda Ardern and Justin Trudeau and these wets. And then, of course, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have proven everybody wrong. No, there's still a lot of space in the world for that strongman politics nonsense. And it's not going away anytime soon. So, you know what? This is going to be great for Russia. Right now, I think the ruble is probably going to do extremely well. Oil and gas prices are going to go up. If you have stocks in those, you're going to do great. And Russia will love Vlad even more after this. He's massively popular with young people. No, he's not going anywhere. If you think that Russia is going to be cross with him for going to war in the Ukraine, they're like, go, take it back. It is ours anyway. And there are lots of people in the Ukraine who are Russians, who regard themselves as ethnic and cultural Russians, who have been egging on this fight for a long time. So let's see what happens.
Let's not forget that South Africa has billions of rands locked up in Russia.
Do we?
Yeah, we do. Some of the companies that have invested or keeping money there and have trade ties are Naspers,
Really?
AB InBev, some unlisted companies such as Zest Fruit. So there's a lot of companies here will be affected by what's going on.
In fact, I saw on the news recently that, not sure which minister, I think it was Naledi Pandor, who's trying to mediate between Ukraine and Russia. And I'm like, what?
Oh dear.
I don't think anyone's returning her calls though.
Yeah, I don't know how we as South Africa think we're gonna save Ukraine when we couldn't save macros during the looting. I don't- our army couldn't even protect a 2-pack of Huggies. Where are we?
So Elon as God is saying, I know that might be frowned upon, but how great is it that we get to experience this conflict in the social media age? Well, you see, this is the whole point with what we're going through now, is that you are going to have millions of opinions, where before you maybe had 3 or 4 that you could get from mainstream news organizations. And now you can hear people from all over the world, which is why it's great to like get the Indian take on this. As I mentioned earlier, Stembiso says, watch the history of Russia on YouTube. It is the real story. Again, YouTube. I mean, like whether it's your Tinder Swindler video, Suhayl, or whether it's like the history of Russia. I love that we can access all this information now. It's awesome. We are in this international mess because we have been governed by girly boys on poppers. That's what Michael says. Well, that may be it. You know, I mean, there was this very mean meme that was sent out, which basically shows the defense minister of Russia, who's like this hardcore, rough-looking bastard. Right, let me show you that. Like, I don't know if you could just see him there. That's the defense minister of Russia.
Yes.
Wow.
He's got an animal around his neck.
Yeah,
Damn.
he looks like he's a grumpy. And then they show you the defense ministers of Western Europe.
All ladies.
All ladies. So there's Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Netherlands, and Spain. It's all these ladies, like lovely looking ladies, all made up beautifully with good hair, and they're all smiling in their pretty colorful dresses at the camera. Now, I know a lot of people are going to hop on this and go, oh, this is chauvinism, and why can't women be defense ministers? Of course they can. And there have been,
of course they can. But in that photograph in particular,
they show
there's a great contrast.
Yeah, like at least
where
wear
they're
that fur coat. At least put.
Well, I think the point of that meme is just to say, we're not saying women shouldn't be defense ministers, but what we are saying is that if that Russian defense minister had a gun in his hand and he was standing opposite one of those European women defense ministers, he would shoot them if they threatened him. Whereas they would probably not shoot him if the same was applied the opposite.
But at the same time, you can say it makes him look barbaric and them look civilized.
Maybe.
I suppose.
Maybe. All right. Congo Chris says the US invades Vietnam, Korea, Cuba, Afghanistan, and Iraq twice, and nobody bats an eyelid. Russia invades Ukraine once, and everybody loses their damn mind. Yes, exactly. You're starting to get the picture here. That's Congo Chris bringing in some sense. Thatcher was a woman and fucking badass too. That's true, David. That's the sort of woman needed, not the Adrian type.
I think
Ardern.
Ardern. Yeah. I mean, like Margaret Thatcher, but you see, people hated Margaret Thatcher because she was conservative. But that was a hell of a leader, and she would have been able to handle this. I mean, she handled Gorbachev, which was a hell of a lot more of an ask at the time than what's going on in little old Ukraine. But I'm happy to hear all the opinions, and some people are going to get hugely worked up about this stuff, and some people don't care. Like there's some people I know that are like, Ukraine is miles away. It's not going to affect me. And they're also saying, I wouldn't. If I were an American now and Joe Biden was saying, oh, we need you to put on a uniform and go and fight in Ukraine. Screw you. No one's going to want to do that. Like, why would the average American want to get into a uniform and go and fight in the Ukraine? They wouldn't.
Because #any excuse to use their gun and put on the uniform.
No, it's always the politicians who are keen to do that. But the average soldier probably doesn't want to go and put their life on the line for the Ukraine.
Oh, not at all.
Different if you're fighting for your own country, and let's say you're fighting, what you perceive to be terror, or you're fighting for American interests overseas, or you've actually got an invasion on your hands. I mean, Ukrainian people, sure, they're fighting. I understand that. And Russians, sure, they're fighting. They've got reasons to fight. But if you're from France and they say, oh, won't you come and join us in the Ukraine? You've got to be going, what? Are you insane? Right? Anyway.
I must leave my cheese board for that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what the French are like about that stuff. All right. So apparently there's this brilliant documentary called Sex in Afrikaans. Have you heard about this?
What?
Yes. Listen to this.
I haven't, but I'm surprised I haven't. What is it on?
It's on Showmax, and it has just broken the record that was held by Devilsdorp for the most
Yes,
first day
these
views.
Afrikaans documentaries, they're killing it.
Telling you, but
Yeah.
listen, this is where if you want to
Literally,
make
yeah.
you want to make money in South African television and film, you do not underestimate the power of the Afrikaans market here, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that it's just locally made and that it involves various South African cultures. Because again, people like the local stuff. So on Valentine's Day, Showmax audiences fell in love with sex in Afrikaans. The eye-opening documentary series set a new record for the most first-day views. It peaked at 8 o'clock on Valentine's Day. That tells you something. Once everyone had put their kids to bed. And it follows clinical psychologist Bradley Daniels as he helps 4 Afrikaans couples and 2 singles have shameless discussions about their sex lives for the first time publicly, and in the process, discover that there's much fun to be had. This is amazing. With 6 episodes, they focus on sex workers, sex toys, porn, swinging, BDSM, and fetishes. And they are groundbreaking, these discussions, because you know what people, particularly Afrikaans people,
Yeah. Well, I mean that
Mm.
whole
don't
swinging
like.
vibe that I was into was Afrikaans people from Pretoria.
Oh, Leigh-Ann, tell us more.
Well,
No,
I'm
Leigh-Ann was-
intrigued now.
Suhayl, Leigh-Ann, just to bring you on board, like Leigh-Ann was actually a swinger once. She took part in that world for a little while.
Oh, like when you put your like keys in a bowl and then
Well, I was actually dating the head honcho of the swingers in Pretoria. I mean, I don't do things half-heartedly.
damn. Okay, so you were in. You weren't just
Oh yeah.
you weren't just dabbling. You were the
Oh
queen.
no, I went straight to the top.
Wow.
But it does remind me of that one meme video joke thing that goes around, and I'm sure you've seen it, but where the guy's in a support group and he says, I do my business in English, my children speak English, I send them to an English school, maar ek pomp in Afrikaans.
Oh, that is so great.
Whoa.
That's amazing. So this is apparently the record-breaking documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but now I've got to watch it. I think
Well, I
it's-
can
yeah.
imagine it's extremely controversial. Just based on what you've said thus far. Afrikaans people swinging,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
watching porn.
Mhm.
Just, I mean, even just discussing it, that must be
Well,
thrilling.
I mean, this is especially, and I don't want to stereotype all Afrikaans people, but a great many of them are very different people in the bedroom to the kind of people they are in public.
Oh
And a
yeah,
lot-
the most conservative people you'd think, and husbands and wives in their Sunday frocks and suits are not the same behind doors. But
Yeah,
I all
absolutely.
for
And
it. I'm all
Leigh-Ann
for
knows
it.
this.
Yeah, she
Oh,
knows.
yeah.
Oh, she does.
They're
You know,
very
so-
open with pornography and things
Yeah.
like that.
Vyasan says, "Were you the first
Wow.
lady of swingers, Leigh-Ann?"
Yes. Hallelujah.
So wait, yeah, like just okay, you don't have to go into too much detail, but like
No, she doesn't
how,
mind.
how
Ask
does okay. So how do people get into this? And is it true that it's like the most unsuspecting people that you would find at these types of places?
Yeah. Look, I never bumped into anyone that was kind of well known or anything like that. It was very closed community type. I came across it in the days when we had chat rooms, with like IRC chat and that sort of thing.
Oh wow!
And
That's
when
ages
those, and then when those developed more, you could go onto like swinger dating sites and that sort of thing.
Wow.
But what's really fun about it is that, I did all of this as a single woman. So there's a misconception that you have to be married couples in order to do it. Single women are definitely welcome. Single men, not at all. The males need to have a partner.
What?
So, yeah.
Why?
Well, because you otherwise you invite like single guys and it turns into a creepy like horrible situation for the girls. You got a whole bunch of
Oh,
like
okay.
predatory single guys going around. It's like,
it's a bit of a
you know,
control issue as well. I mean, in the swinging community, you need to have agreement as a woman with your male partner. And he will come and ask for permission to be with certain women. So there's a lot more control.
It's also very like consent based, as I understand it. So you have to, you know, before anything happens, you have to say, would you mind if I do this? Can I be here? Can we do this? Kind of, it's a whole, there's a language, there's a way people behave. It's incredible. But I'm going to watch this documentary. You got to watch it too. So that is the number one thing on Showmax at the moment. And
sex in Afrikaans.
Yeah, and just to let you know how things are affecting your life in terms of what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia. Oil surged past $105 a barrel. Equities tumbled after key crude producer Russia sent forces into the Ukraine, accelerating major fears of a war in Eastern Europe. The stock markets nosedived. Frankfurt shed 5%. Investors fled risky equities, while haven investment like gold rose to just $1,955 per ounce. I've seen Bitcoin has gone up a little bit, but it tanked horribly yesterday. So it's now at $38,771 a Bitcoin. So there's some interesting info for you. We've got lots of other good stuff that we want to discuss, but I'd like to welcome somebody who's doing really interesting things. The business is called Airlift Express, and I want to bring Anthony Wilson in to discuss this with us. And we're going to find out what his business is all about. You know, we're always keen and curious to find out what kinds of businesses people are into, what they're doing, particularly after lockdown. There are lots of really, really smart things going on, and people are thinking differently about how they do business. So, Anthony, very nice to see you, first of all, and thank you for making time for us this morning. What is Airlift Express?
Thanks, Gareth. Airlift Express is kind of it's a new grocery online service in South Africa. It was started in Pakistan about 18 months ago by Usman Gul and Maher Farouk and Ahmed Ayub. They originally had the idea of making an air-conditioned bus service in Pakistan. They saw a niche for that in the market. They went out, they got some funding. They launched the bus service at the end of 2019, and in 2020, the COVID entered, and nobody needed to go to work anymore, and the bus service had to shut down. And Gul had worked for DoorDash before in the US and wanted to get into quick commerce, and essentially they had onboarded a bit of money from investors. And had an engineering team, and they went into quick commerce and into grocery delivery. And so we're an asset-heavy grocery delivery service. So we're not an aggregator like a lot of other people in the market. Aggregators, you know, are quite easy to. A few hackers in their garage can build an aggregator. We own all our stock. It expanded massively in Pakistan and very quickly. And South Africa is their first foray into the global markets. We started in South Africa in October last year.
So explain it to me from the consumer point of view. I can online order groceries and you will deliver them. And
yes, so
and there's this is not, I mean, you know, there are certain services that we may have heard of before, like you just mentioned, the American DoorDash. A lot of people during COVID didn't want to go to the shops, and a lot of people still don't want to go to the shops now that COVID's finished. So this sounds like a great way for people to now order the things. And I mean, let's face it, grocery shopping is a schlep. Nobody loves that, right? So is there a catch here? It sounds really cool. Is there an app? How do I do this?
So we online only. So we have an app that is on the Play Store and on the Apple Store. We have dark stores all around South Africa. So you can't actually go into any of our retail stores. They are spaces around Johannesburg, around Pretoria, and around Cape Town currently, with a certain radius around it. And essentially, when you load the app and you load your address, it kind of links you to that dark store where we hold all our stock. We have multiple pickers and packers and systems in that dark store. And when your order comes through, there's a picker and packer who runs around collects your groceries, packs it for you, puts it in a brown bag, and then they hand it over to driver ops, who then delivers it to you. And currently, you know, we are looking at under 30-minute delivery in South Africa, and have been quite successful at that. We're looking at about 90% of our deliveries done in under 30 minutes.
That's amazing.
In the warehouses, it takes us about 5 to 6 minutes to pack an order. And this is obviously very different to some of our competitors who are picking from their retail stores.
Correct.
Yeah,
I've used some of those before, and what irritates me there is they either don't have the item in stock, or they take like 2 hours, or you try to book a delivery and you can only get it in like a week's time. So you're talking about 15 minutes, half an hour. I mean, listen, I'll take an hour, and you say you'll be well within that time. This is very cool. Is it? You mentioned Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban. Where else are you guys? Is that the main start?
So not in Durban yet. We Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Cape Town. Durban is in the pipeline.
Awesome.
We went through a massive growth in kind of December. When I joined in November, we had about 8 warehouses open. We've now expanded that to 26, and we did that in 2 months.
Right.
And so we're in a bit of consolidation now. And then we'll be putting on the growth levers again in a few months. So it's been wonderful working with, you know, the Pakistani team. There has been a wonderful synergy between us and them with regards to kind of how we see life and the work ethic, and it's been amazing.
So many good ideas coming out of that part of the world at the moment. So we've got some idea here of what differentiates you from the other apps and the other shopping kind of delivery stuff that is out there. And I mean, it sounds to me like it's fast. I also have an endorsement from my producer, Dory, who's tried you guys. And, you know, we don't like to talk about anything on the show unless someone here has tried it. And Dory produces the show. She said she signed up, tried it. She said that the products, and these are Dory's words, were crazy cheap compared to any other shopping app, and the delivery was at her house in less than half an hour. And you guys deliver until 10 p.m. at night.
Oh, that's nice.
Incredible. Yeah.
So we are till 10 p.m. One of the big things behind Airlift and a goal of the founders is to bring customers closer to the producers or to the manufacturers. So in Pakistan already, they are going from farmer to our warehouse to consumer.
Awesome.
You know, currently the supply chain is quite long in South Africa. You go to farmer, market, agent, DC, you know, reseller, and you know, skipping out all those middlemen with a kind of digitally enabled system really allows you to bring that value to the customer. So we are looking for really value in the market and passing on our savings to the customers. And that's kind of how we operate. 10 p.m. is currently where we are. 24 hours will be with us in the next month in Johannesburg. So you'll be able to order anything.
So I can wake up
24 hours.
I can wake up at 2 craving chicken tikka masala and just order the ingredients.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so let's just let everybody know the details, because I'm sure there are lots of people who want to sign up for this now. I don't love grocery shopping. Some people do, but if I can cut that out of my day and just get the stuff delivered, I will be a much happier human being. So we've actually got a promo code for everybody who's listening this morning, and this will help you to save even more money. You heard what Dory said. She's the producer of the show, and she said she loves it. Download the app, get groceries delivered, and you will get 30 Rand off. The promo is Cliff30, and give you 30 Rand off on your first order, and go ahead and try that now. And that is the Airlift Express app. Use the promo code Cliff30 to get 30 Rand off your first order over 100 Rand. Go and check it out now. I'm really, really excited about this, Anthony, and I'm going to be using you guys. I have no reason in the world to be heading to the goddamn store every time and having to carry you. Now they don't even give you packets at some of the stores, so you have to schlep the stuff in your trolley.
I can just imagine you walking in with all these extra bags. It's just not you.
No, I mean, and then it all rolls around in the boot of my car, eggs get broken. It's a disaster.
And yeah, so we give our packaging for free. It's ecologically friendly paper bags. So and another thing, in Cape Town, we're launching a competition beginning of March. where we're going to be putting Kruger Rands into people's packets. So
I would move to Cape Town for that.
I'm booking my flight right now.
it's not a full Kruger Rand. It's one of the tenths or quarters, but it's still some gold. And with the problems in Ukraine, gold is increasing at a drastic rate. So it could be worth a lot of money.
That's awesome. Listen, well done on this business. I'm thrilled that some brilliant ideas from Pakistan are starting to come into South Africa. I love the fact that it's 10 p.m. at night. You can order it. It gets delivered within, you said 15 minutes. Listen, I'll take an hour, as I said. That's way better than anything I've encountered so far. I can see Leigh-Ann's going to be using them too. And Suhayl, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I hate going grocery shopping.
Corona's Boring wants to know, can they try the promo code Cliff500?
To get 500, no, you can get 30 rand. You greedy bastard. I love this. Thank you so much, Anthony, and thanks for letting us know about your business. I hope it goes really, really well for you guys, and we'll check in with you again soon.
Great. Thanks so much to the team, and thanks, Gareth. Really, really good to be on here.
No, great to see you. Thanks for being part of the show this morning. Isn't that cool?
Awesome.
Don't you love it?
Love it. And you know, when you cut out all those middlemen, the stuff is fresher and that's
and
the best
cheaper.
part.
That's Ari says it was cheaper, so I'm gonna go and get the app now and let's.
If it's cheaper, that's
I mean, hell, who wants to spend more money at the moment on things like all the rubbish packaging that so many of these stores put around their things? Who wants to wait longer than you have to wait? It's all like makes sense. This is how you
spending so much money on stuff that you're going to poo out anyway.
True.
You know, literally money down the toilet.
I never thought about. Never thought about it that way.
Don't you always feel terrible when you go on like a weekend away where it's self-catering, or even if you've just bought groceries and the stuff's really heavy to take in, and you think all of this is going to go into my body and I'm going to come out with no bags, but all of it in my system.
No, but now I will be thinking about
I've never ever thought of it like that.
Oh, that's all I'm going to be thinking. Thanks for ruining it for me. I used to quite enjoy that part of it.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. Very, very good.
Just forgetting about it.
By the way, if you want to follow Suhayl, you can get him on Suhayl Essa. Then I'll put his name up right now, so you can follow him on TikTok and Instagram. And on Twitter, he's at _SHWALE. Okay, so go and follow him on Suhayl.
It's weird.
Yeah. No, but that's fine. Go and follow him on all the social media nims, and then you can see what he's up to, because he's producing some very cool stuff. Very, very nice. All right. Michael says, I just watched WION for the last 20 minutes. Really good. Well, that means you weren't listening to us, but okay, Michael. At least we've helped you to find another good news source. And they really are good. So I'm not unhappy about that at all. And try out this promo code, everybody. Let's see if we can get these guys going and test them out. Tambisa says, I love grocery shopping. I spend hours. I want to touch the carrots.
Wow.
So she's the one who spread disease on all the carrots.
Yeah, you're the reason we have typhoid now.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Lord.
You really do. Let me have a sip of my typhoid water in Pretoria. Hang on.
Is it filtered water? I mean, not that.
Nice typhoid water. No, you know me. I just take it straight out of the tap.
We had
you haven't been boiling your water, Gareth?
I'm not boiling my water. No,
I'm not either. I'm just using one of these guys.
No, those things. I don't think. Do you think?
You think typhoid is sitting in there going, "Oh no, this little plastic filter"?
No, not typhoid, but it actually it does make a difference to the taste in the water. I'm really not fussy. I will drink stuff out of a tap, but if I'm doing some kind of good, then
Wait, how does it change the taste?
It does. I don't know. I think it filters out
What is it? But okay, then what does your water taste like versus what Gareth's water tastes like?
Mine
I
tastes
can
like
actually, as I put it to my nose, if it's not filtered, I can smell more chemicals than if I filter it.
Mine has got like a slight hint of like cumin. And I definitely think there's also a little bit of cinnamon in it, but it might also be a woody kind of heaviness, which I haven't really experienced before. So it probably has been filtered through a sewage plant in Pretoria North, but I think most of the shit's gone because I mean, it's just lovely, and I could drink this all the time. And really, I've never ever had any problems. It's just I do occasionally have terrible diarrhea, but I don't think it's the water. It can't be the water, right?
I remember
It's all those
my
groceries you buy.
my grandfather took my little brother. We used to go to Scottsboro on the south coast for holidays sometimes. And one day, my grandfather, who is very much into factories, and that was his life, took my brother on a little tour to the sewage factory, which he has never forgotten, and to the sewage plant.
Oh my God!
They were looking at a pile of turds, and my grandfather said to my brother, "Next time you poop, you must tie a ribbon around it. Then we'll come here and we'll be able to find yours." And we've never forgotten that.
What a strange thing to take your grandson on a tour of. Holy shit! Literally, holy shit! Why would you want to take your grandson to a sewage farm?
Listen, it's important to know how everything works. You can't just poop blindly into a toilet and think it just disappears.
You can drive within 5 kilometers of a sewage farm, and you know exactly what's going on there. You don't need to do a tour. Come on.
Well, look, this was the 80s, hey?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment on TV. Anyway, so let us take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment or two. Suhayl Essa is with us, Leigh-Ann Mole, and you can find out all about all the stuff that's already happened on the show this morning if you like by going to cliffcentral.com. You can also listen to the podcast if you missed any part of it, and we will be back in a moment or two. Stick around. Got lots of good stuff coming at you this Friday morning.
There is only one place on Cliff Central for 80s movie recommendations, obscure 80s references, 80s crushes, and it's the only place on Cliff Central with the best 80s songs you forgot how much you loved. That 80s show, Fridays, 9 a.m. on Cliff Central. People say we're stuck in the 80s, like it's a bad thing.
Yo, I put it like wow, this that sound. These oaks don't work hard like me, I hope they know by now.
Right, cliffcentral.com here on a Friday morning with Suhayl Essa. And Suhayl is a comedian. He's also famous recently for his TikTok and YouTube videos, but you're also you're a doctor. You're in medicine, bro. You do
Yes,
serious
yes,
shit
yes.
for a living. You don't just mess around with entertainment like the rest of us do, right?
Well, I mean, that was the plan actually.
Yeah.
After I had done my internship and my community service after studying at Wits, and then after working for 3 years, at the end of 2019, I had decided it would be a great time to go full time into stand-up comedy. I had started when I was in varsity actually, and then 3 months into 2020, and yeah, all live entertainment
It's
disappeared.
it's just really you and Riyad Musa who can stretch this medical to comedy career. It's a big stretch for a great many people. It'd be impossible, but you're the only two I can think of who do it.
I mean, in America, there's Ken Jeong. Ken
Okay.
Jeong, he also did it.
I've
But
no
yeah,
idea.
there's Ken Jeong from what's this? The Hangover.
Oh, that dude,
Yes.
The Hangover.
Yeah. The Chinese guy, the little Chinese guy.
He's a doctor.
Yes. Yeah,
Holy
yeah, he's a medical doctor as well. He was actually his background was in stand-up comedy. But then he was this like really wild, eccentric character on stage, and that's how they basically found him
I would
and
be
said he'd be
terrified
great.
if I went in for an operation and he came out of the surgery. I'd be like, no, I won't have that, doctor. Thank you. But just shows you.
Yeah. But I feel like you have almost two completely different personalities. Like my doctoring personality is very much stern and
All right.
professional.
You've probably, and I'm going to bring Leigh-Ann in on this one because you've probably seen, and let's just, because Leigh-Ann has taken the show in lavatorial directions pretty much from 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've been doing this morning. So here's something
Sorry about that.
interesting. The emergency room must be a hell of a place to work, dude.
Yeah.
You must have seen some incredible things. You may as well.
I have indeed.
Wake us up with a fright this morning. What have you seen?
Well, so as I said, at the end of 2019, my plan was to leave and do comedy full time. And then, lockdown came, there was no more shows. And prior to me leaving, for those 3 years, I'd worked in various different departments. But then I decided, okay, a nice life would be to work in the ER. How wrong I was. I started in 2020, but even before that, I'd had some experience in the ER. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys remember sometime, I think it was around in 2019, 2018, 2019, when Arnold Schwarzenegger...
We can reliably remember 2018, 19. Can we? Yeah, I think we can
I
remember.
think so.
Do you remember there was do you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger visited South Africa? Do you remember that?
And there was that dude who tried to attack him.
Yes.
Well, he did. He kicked him in the back.
Back. Now, I don't know if you can see where this is going, but that guy wasn't all with it.
He's crazy?
Yeah. I mean, who kicks Arnold Schwarzenegger? Let's be serious.
You kicked my bag. I'm gonna kill you. I'll terminate you. What do you think is going on here? I remember that. That was embarrassing though, because we were all watching it thinking, Arnold's here and he's a big deal. Like Arnold's a movie star,
he's a big guy.
California.
He was a South African guy. Hey,
he's an action. He's an action movie hero. And here we are, just a random average South African is gonna kick him in his back. So anyway, this I was on call that day and I was in the hospital. And run of the mill stuff. And there's obviously you work in emergency, there's psychiatric patients, and I wasn't really paying much attention to the conversations that were going on. Oftentimes, violent, aggressive psychiatric patients come in, they get restrained, and then in the background, could hear this conversation, and this guy is like, "Yeah, you know me. I kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger," and I was like, Yeah, these are regular conversations for psychiatric patients to have. This is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
And then I didn't pay it much attention. And then as time went on, some of the nurses started going, "Oh, wait, that's the guy."
No.
And I
It was
didn't realize. Then they pull out the videos and they start showing each other. And I still didn't see this. But with psychiatric patients, now they all restrained next to each other. Now they're having conversations with each other. And each guy is trying to outdo the others. Like, yeah, no, I kick Van Damme. And I'm like, whoa.
you got all the crazy there at once.
It's like, yeah, I kick Van Damme. No, I kick Jackie Chan. And I was like, hold on. I'm not really paying attention. Once the nurse pulled out her phone and she was like, "No, that's the guy." He kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in the video, he was saying that he kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger. In that same video, like straight after, he started shouting like, "Where's my Porsche?" He wanted like a car.
Yes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger owes me a car. So I went up to him and I was like, "Hey man, are you the guy?" Then he's like, "Yeah, I'm the guy." And then all the others are like, "No, I'm the guy. No, I'm the guy." these guys, like they were the guys that kicked the Avengers. That is basically hilarious. That's what they were. And then he confirmed because he was like, "Yeah, no, because I wanted a Lamborghini." And Arnold promised me a Lamborghini, and he didn't give me a Lamborghini, so I kicked him in the back.
Just out of curiosity, like, how do you restrain these people? What do you put them in?
So look,
if
a psychiatric patient comes in and he is aggressive, he or she is aggressive, you generally, the first thing is to try and talk them down, try and get them to be calm. Generally, that doesn't work.
And then you pump the Ativan.
Yes, Ativan. No, you know, Leigh-Ann. Have you been?
She's definitely
visiting my ER.
She keeps some around the house.
Yeah, so we hit them. So generally, you have to physically restrain them before you're gonna give them, because some of these guys, like they're damn strong and like they don't feel any pain. So you have to restrain them. So generally, you can restrain them just both arms onto the bed. But this is government hospitals. We don't sometimes we don't have beds. Just restrain them to the wheels of the wheelchair. Now the guys can't like really roll around or anything. Just,
I know we're not meant to
be laughing, it's horrible.
I kind of get it out of my head that you got all these crazy people next to each other, like almost in a crazy circle, all comparing which movie stars they didn't actually hit, where there's one guy in the group that actually did.
Yeah, well, it's really like the ER is a crazy environment, because
so did he have to be
in South Africa.
Did he have to be treated for any physical injuries?
No, he wasn't physically injured. So I think they just sort of, once he kicked him, they sort of just got him into like a headlock or something like that. And then they whisked him away, and he came to us, and he wasn't really like banged up or bruised. Some of these guys, like obviously in the communities, like townships and stuff, people go crazy. They go like, this guy's possessed, he's a demon, we're gonna kill him.
Wow.
So a lot of the times we do get guys that are really badly hurt. And they've just got psychosis or schizophrenia or whatever. But working in the ER is really crazy in that you've got that these guys who sometimes can wait for up to like 3 days in the ER waiting to get a bed in the ward, and they're next to like a guy who's dying from a heart attack. So this old uncle is sitting in the bed next door, and he's got a heart attack, and then you've got the guy who kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then you've got somebody who's just got really bad diarrhea. So
and this is your job. This is your job. I mean, this is what you do. You're fixing these weird and disturbed and
but I mean, as I'm sure you've gathered, this is it's a funny environment. Like
you're so calm about it. I mean, that's such a great story, and obviously, you've probably seen some terrible things as well, which I'm sure we don't want to get into. But to actually have been there, were you there on the day that the place burned down?
Yes, I was there. That's the hospital I'm actually employed at.
Oh,
it was wild. Yes. And it's been a year now, and they've told us that we're finally going back in March. But over the last year, I haven't had a formal workplace. We've
But is
basically
it
been.
it's still operating though, is it? Some parts of
So,
the hospital.
so some parts of the hospital have reopened. I think
Okay.
it was about 3 to 4 months before any of the departments reopened. But some of the
Wow.
departments function just as basically referral centers. So they're just
Mm.
wards. So if another hospital has an overflow of patients, they sort of send them to Shalom. But the emergency unit hasn't been ready for the last year. And we've been
And I mean, this
basically
happened during COVID when they were really, we needed beds.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some crazy experiences because over the last year, having gone through not only a pandemic where there was bed space issues and not having enough wards and not having enough place to put patients, but also being shafted around to various other hospitals and clinics around Joburg Gen Hospital to help out with all the patient load. Like I also worked in Hillbrow over the last year, and I was there on the day the looting started.
Oh my God.
Gosh. You really know where to be at the right time.
It's just my luck. It's just my luck. I was there on the day the looting started, and that was a crazy experience because if you've ever been to Hillbrow, and I don't know, have you ever been to Hillbrow?
Oh yeah.
Oh well,
Yeah.
maybe you have in like the 80s or you know.
Mm-mm.
But now it's.
No,
Have you been there
even more
recently?
recent. Yeah,
Oh, wow,
pretty
okay.
recent.
What the hell were
So-
you doing in Hillbrow? I'm curious.
Yeah, what were you? Were you at the summit?
I was getting a belly button ring, but I didn't end up getting it. I was sanitized and in the queue, and then a girl who was getting a belly button ring next to me went first, and she passed out. So I just said,
Oh, and
I'm
then you
getting
were
some in
like-
my car, and I got into my car and drove away.
I love the fact that you
Yeah.
went to Hillbrow to get a belly button ring. You're such a nut.
Yeah, wow. People normally go there to get shot.
But listen,
But
if anyone's new on the job as a doctor, they're not going to want to do rounds with you because, or maybe they will.
oh
if they're thrill
no.
seekers.
When I tell my stories, people are more intrigued. They're more excited. Oh, we want to see how fun this is. Well, it's not fun when you're there. I make
Yeah.
it sound fun. I'll tell you a really crazy story about Hillbrow. So as an intern, doctor, we used to have to do like night shifts there, night calls. And then later now, when I work in ER, having Joburg Gen shut, we do outreach there. So we go and help out there, do shifts there.
Sure.
And there's this myth or legend, right? So every night when you're on call, and Hillbrow is full of trauma patients. A lot of people getting stabbed, shot. It's a very dangerous, tumultuous area. And the clinic is literally in the middle of all that. I mean, when the looting and the...
Sorry, I just got... It's a really tumultuous area.
TVs being thrown out of windows.
Yeah. Yeah, like sometimes you just hear like TVs falling out. Like sometimes there's the guy. One time a guy came in and he was like, I was just walking and a TV fell on my head. I was like, what? A TV just fell on your head.
And we're
Where
like,
are we?
Let's try and get speed bumps in my road because the cars are a bit fast.
Yeah, the potholes are really bad. I'm like, oh, really? Your potholes are bad. Well, have you had a TV fall on your head recently?
How's it, Mary? It's Sharon. Listen, your peach tree, I can't take it anymore. The fruit peaches that are falling on my side of the fence is just enough for art. I can't handle it. And I want you to cut the thing down. Otherwise, I'm going to get the council involved. And don't let me get the council involved. Just tell your husband, Mervyn, just tell him to cut the thing down. That's enough. Meanwhile, Hillbrow, you got fucking TVs hitting your head. And, oh my God.
Sorry,
wow.
can you just stop dropping TVs from the sky?
Can we talk
It's
about
raining
the fact that you
TVs
have
in
one of,
Hillbrow.
Can we talk about the fact that you have one of those phones still, Gareth?
No, it's so.
Please tell me it's a
do.
broadcast thing.
Or is it literally just for the joke?
No, it's one of those. What do you call them? Like it's not connected to a line, so it's like a wireless type of phone.
Well,
that
it's
is
not wireless. I can see
But
the
we
wire.
can see the wire.
No, but it's got a speaker on it too, so I can put on the speaker here.
So does
What?
that save
Then
it?
what's
Just
the
because it's got a
point?
speaker.
Oh, but don't you make calls occasionally? I've got a landline at home, but this is now a wireless landline phone. So it basically...
It's not wireless.
No, but I have a home phone number, so it has to go somewhere, right?
Oh, you still have a home phone number.
Yes. You think that's hilarious, do you? I'm so 1985. Is that what you think it is?
I
Okay.
haven't seen
You know what you
one
should
of
do,
those in
Gareth? You should throw it out of
ages.
your window
You know,
and hope it doesn't
I
land.
also have a
on
loud hailer, Leigh-Ann.
Hello, this is Vladimir Putin. We're coming across border. Get ready, Ukraine. It's not going to be a good day for you.
Clearly, you need all the forms of communication in your home in case one
know
of them
me.
fails you.
We're in the business of communication. I can't afford
Wow.
to screw up here.
Wow.
And I
Oh, so wait, I was telling you about
Yes.
the.
Hold on. Congo Chris says I still have a cassette answering machine. Yes, I do. Hello, this is Gareth. I'm not at home at the moment, but please leave a message and I will listen to the tape when I have 5 minutes.
Suhayl,
rewind.
Please continue.
All right.
Yeah, so it's insane. It's insane types of trauma. Like sometimes people will just come in with like, we were walking across the street, we heard gunshots. Next thing I felt a pain in my ass, and now I realized I got shot. Like riding in the streets,
Yo.
gunfights happening. So it's a wild place, wild place. And there's this mythical game trolley where when people get like, nobody knows how. Like people get wheeled in, so their friends or their family or whatever, like let's say you get stabbed or get shot or mugged or whatever it is, beaten up, people get wheeled in with this game trolley, this mythical game trolley.
A trolley from game.
And it's almost as if this trolley is the one that's causing this havoc in Hillbrow, because a guy will come in, that trolley just gets sprayed with some sanitizer and somebody just pushes it back out in the street, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, game trolley is back
With the person in it.
with somebody in it.
Oh, shame it's their stretcher.
That's it.
It is so wild.
It's the Hillbrow stretcher. That's bloody amazing.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's Hillbrow stretcher. It's a urban legend, I swear. If you go to Hillbrow and if you rolling down the street, you might see the game trolley. And if you do,
Right.
I would recommend you head in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's the game trolley. And
Cole wants
the
to know
wheel,
what your-
and it's like you know, it's a typical like that trolley that you don't want to use for your groceries or
No.
your human.
No, hell no.
everything
There's
that's been in there.
it's probably like
Yeah.
a piece of a leg or a foot or something in there. All right, listen.
Yeah.
While we are messing around on this Friday morning, there is also something. I got a book the other day. You know, people deliver books to the office, and then I look at them, and some of them look like kind of interesting. So I got this book called Hack It, Hacking Your Mental Mindset. And the author is a guy called Rinus le Roux, and he's also a keynote speaker. He works in the business of change management, conflict resolution, behavioral change, and a whole lot more. These are things that we talk about often on the show, you know, whether it's at work or whether it's in your relationships. People are always looking for advice on how they can do these things better. And God knows we all manage change pretty badly. Some people better than others, but you know what it's like. The minute change happens in your life or your household or your workplace, it tends to upset the balance of things, and a lot of people get very unhappy about this. So I decided we'll talk to Renus. We'll talk about the book Hack It, Hacking Your Mental Mindset, and he's on the line now to talk to us. Hey, Renus, how's it going, dude?
Hey, Gareth, well, and yourself?
Nice to
Can
see
you guys
you.
hear me?
Yeah, I
nice
can.
to see you.
Loud and
Hello,
clear. So
everybody.
I actually met Renus. He came into the studio to drop the book off. And listen, we had a long talk about what's going on in the world and how screwed up people are and how they've lost their way and how people can't deal with change. So what made you write the book? And this isn't your first book, is it?
No, number 14. If you've got nothing to do, you write books.
Wow.
No, you know what, Gareth? I wrote another one while we were in lockdown. It was called Surviving Rotten Cheese, and it was just to get through all of this. And I think the mental mindset, hey guys, the people are struggling. You know, I
let's
had
just
a guy yesterday that wanted to kill me because I took a parking that he was going out of. He was giving it to
yeah.
someone else on the other side. So I don't know. People are heavy, flipping angry at the moment. Eh?
Renus, you had a terrible lockdown though, and let's just be serious for a second because we can talk about this asshole who wanted to kill you for the parking space in a moment. But you actually, like, I know a lot of people had a terrible lockdown, but you had a particularly bad one. I mean, you lost family members. Just tell everybody what you went through, because I mean, it's a hell of a story.
Yeah, man. Yes, I've. So this is part of the stuff that I do. I've lost family members. I lost my. This was to cancer. I lost my dad, my mom, and my wife in 18 months' time. Wrote a book about that. Sculpted by grief, and I think I understand grief a little bit, and it's nice to see people who's well qualified in Baragwana and see all of those things that happen there. But
Yeah,
but I think it's the same happens in the mental space. You know, people go through trauma, and I think people has gone through a hell of a lot of trauma with this, guys. And yes, we're struggling, and it just feels to me that a hack is something that you can try in a kind of in a lab where you. So, for instance, for me, when it comes to trauma, I mean, you can't have a great life if you're not at some point willing to sort that out. Am I correct, Doctor? Would you agree with me? You know, you have to sort out some of the trauma, you know, and all of this compounded here with this lockdown. And the book is not really about the lockdown. You know, there's such a lot of it, but it's really about finding ways to get through stuff, you know, through the stress, through the hell that we've been through.
Well, I mean, you kind of glibly just went over like 18 months. You lost your wife, your mother, your father. That's a hell of a lot for anyone to go through. Plus, we were going through this global pandemic, and that has completely messed up the way people think. There are a lot of people who've lost their way. So when you wrote this book, how did you even begin to figure out what kind of hacks you can do? Because you seem to me to be a really positive, optimistic person. And to be that after what you've been through, you must have figured out some secret. Is there a secret in your book?
I think there is. I think we spend way too little time with ourselves. And this pandemic has given us that opportunity to spend a little bit of time with ourselves, to hack ourselves. And, you know, I love that little meme that was on, I think it was on Facebook, where the daughter said to the dad, if I give you two choices, would you like to stay with us and mom in the house? And he says, no, I'll take choice number 2. because we found out that the family we live with are not that nice, eh? And the dogs are shit, and the children are naughty. And we have to find a way to with ourselves. We're afraid of ourselves. We run.
Now,
all the time.
What is the best kind of lesson that you've learned? Because I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you that you suddenly come face to face with, you know, this lockdown reality we've just come out of. The fact that you are seeing a lot more of the people you live with than you thought you would, because you can't escape to work or just go for a weekend away on your own or do any of the stuff that you might have done. And now suddenly you come face to face with these realities at home, or worse, you lose the people who you love at home in the case that you went through. Where do you start fixing things, and how can you get to look yourself in the mirror and start to be more in control of your destiny and as you put it, hack your mental mindset, start getting it right?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I wish there was a magic bullet for that. There isn't. Everybody said time, you know, but the one section in the book deals with how do we understand the world we live in? And I got to the understanding that we don't really understand the world we live in. We don't understand that everything will eventually go. You know, life will go, situations will go. We also don't know that there is, you can always choose the high road. You can always choose the high road. You do not have to. And I think so many people in this whole situation chose the low road. They chose to be, they chose to abuse alcohol, drugs, sex, porn, whatever. They choose to abuse, and they didn't take the high road. Hey, Gareth, and for me, it's to have that time with yourself to say, but this is life. I've maybe been never exposed to it. And that's why I say in the beginning, we were exposed. We found out that we were horrible human beings, and the person you live with is an asshole, and you don't want to be with them. This is tough stuff to find out for yourself. But the pandemic, and I think you and I spoke about it, at least the pandemic took us to that place that we could find a place where we could either be more cruel or be more sensitive, but we were faced with that decision, and that for me is extremely important.
Why do you think that so many people would take the low road, as you put it, as opposed to the high road? Because it's easier?
It's easier, but I also think that there is lots of stuff inside of us that we've never dealt with. Anger, towards things. And you know how it goes. You get up in the morning, you do what you do, you get into your car, you go to work, you come back, but you never deal with the stuff. And I think this stopped us to say, hey, now you need to deal with this shit. And if you don't deal with it, it will come again. It's like my aunt who was married to an alcoholic, and we tried everything, and eventually we got together and we prayed for the guy. It's not true. He died. And then my aunt was free to
Sorry,
marry
hang
again.
on. We missed that. You said you guys prayed, and you prayed for him to die, and then he died.
Then he died. Yeah, we're available on weekends if you want to rent us. We charge the minimum, but we can help you guys.
All right.
But the funny part, you've got my number. You've got my number.
Who's this we that prayed? I mean, you guys sound like a powerful.
It's not me. I don't do that completely, but the family. And then my aunt got to marry again, and she married an alcoholic again. So now they're praying for my aunt to die.
I see a Showmax documentary waiting to happen.
Oh wow, this is more.
Don't deal with the shit that comes again. So deal with the shit. That's what Hackett's about. Deal with the shit.
So just so people know, you're not just a very entertaining human being. I mean, you've written all these books. You read a book at age 13 that really changed your life because you read a book by Richard Bach, I think it was.
Yes,
and the quote that I remember you telling me about this, the quote that changed your life forever is this one. Here is the test to find whether your mission on earth is completed. If you're alive, it isn't.
Simple as that, eh?
That's nice. And you've also done a number of like tertiary qualifications. Tell us about those.
Oh no, Gareth, man. Yeah.
No, come on, boast a little because there's no problem. I mean, we've got a doctor. We've got Dr. Suhayl is here. Hey, come on,
no.
Here's a doctor. Here's a lavatorial specialist.
A lavatorial specialist. What's that, if I may ask? Can we just get to that? Just now I say something that's wrong. Please explain lavatorial specialist.
No, tell us about you.
I left school, studied until didn't want to go to the army. I studied until my dad's money went up, went bang. So that was before. I started with a BCom, and then I did psychology, and then I did narrative psychology and stuff like that. Got way too much, and it's all to stay out of the army, I promise, and it didn't work. So, it's, way too much studying, and I actually think that I'm there with Gary V. I think if you're not going to study professional, I don't know if you should go and sit on those. For 5 years or 6 years. I think it's a waste. So my degrees are for sale. If you want to, I don't use them. I can sell.
Yeah, we'll take them. That's great news.
I'll give you.
What do you think? What do you think South Africa could do in terms of getting our own mental mindset right? Because I see so many damaged people. I almost want to just prescribe either weed, because that seems to calm a lot of people down, or just prescribe en masse like mushrooms and just get everybody so high that they just forget about all the pain and the trauma and they get over the PTSD, because we're a very, very we're a damaged country. I mean, there are lots of people who are dealing with all kinds of shit, from families to politics to everything in between.
It's just all going to come back when you sober up. That's the problem.
No, says the expert. I mean, you are in that respect. Yeah.
But so I want to know about the expert. So let me just go there for a second where you went. So while Hundley was dying, the one thing that helped a hell of a lot, doctor, tell me you know this, was cannabis. We gave her some cannabis. Well, at least she could eat. At least she took away the nausea. So I am all for that. I mean, I'm a believer that is the THC calms the mind a little bit and gives you a little bit of a gap to think. But we can't put the whole world on it. And like you said, it's true. You have to get out of it. And I think the world has come to that place right now where we in super shit. And nobody is willing to take the time to work with this. We think it's going to go away. We in some way think we're going to wake up one morning, it's going to go away. And everybody will tell you, if you do not work with this, if you do not sit with it, if you do not talk about it, and that's what I love about your show, Gareth. I think there are two people in South Africa that tell it the way it is, and you one of them. And
who's the other one?
Your friend, man, of Jacaranda, man. What's his name in the afternoon?
Rian.
Yeah. Now you're the only two guys. You're the only two guys. I mean, there's guys on 702. Yeah, that can irritate me. But nevertheless, you got to face this stuff head on. The way that you face it, the way that you guys speak about trouble, and that's the way to do it. And the more people listen, the more they understand. The more they understand, the better they do. Maya Angelou said, "The better we know, the better we do." And that's it. We daft, man. We like sheep.
Let's deal with a real world situation here. So we've got someone who I'm going to introduce you to her now. She drove into Hillbrow on her own to get a belly ring once. Would you say that person is looking for trouble, or would you say that they're in a huge dark hole and there was a cry for attention and for help? What would you say about that?
Yes, now you're putting me on the spot, eh? Nice one.
Or would you just send that person, would you restrain them and send them to Dr. Suhayl so that he could just prescribe some Ativan for them?
Oh, I don't have anything for that.
I've got my own Ativan.
She comes prepared.
Is it? So imagine somebody doing that. It must be the excitement to go there, don't you think?
No.
That I am going into this. I'm going into this dungeon to get a belly ring. You know.
Yes.
It must be kind of a challenge.
She'd also strike me as the kind of person who might be taken by her grandfather on a sewage farm trip, or the kind of person who was once a swinger. I mean, all of those things could be one person.
It could
be. Live, man.
When is she on? When is she on?
Here she is. Her name is Leigh-Ann Mole. You're looking right at her.
Hi, Leigh-Ann. How did it go?
Oh, dear. Did the swinging, got the T-shirt, never got the belly ring.
No,
and most importantly, she didn't end up in a game trolley, which is...
Yes.
Yo, Mr. Good Doctor.
So listen, Renus, I mean, I love the fact that you've written this book because you're actually going to help other people. And I think, it's all good and well for you to say this about yourself. I don't know how you've made it with the shit you went through during lockdown. And really, man, thank God there are people like you who are putting positive energy into something like a book and helping other people get through their own trauma and their own difficulty. I think that this is a great place to start. If you want to get the book, it's called Hack It, Hacking Your Mental Mindset. Where can we get it?
They'll look for it. They'll find it.
What? Really? You're not going to give us any clues?
My email address is the best at the moment.
All right. So what is it? Give it to me.
They'll find it. Renus, RINUS.
Yeah.
At ucan.co.za.
All right, that's not too difficult. Rinus at ucan.co.za. By the way, the UCAN Institute is what you established back in 1995. You've dedicated yourself and all the people who you've done this with to self-mastery, which is also something I think we should all spend a lot more time doing. Developing concepts, programs, and books that impact the world. And you are doing that. And it's a great pleasure to have you on the show this morning.
Did I tell you what happened to me a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Sure.
So my opening line is always, my name is Renus, it sounds like penis, And and someone told me that 20 years ago. It's a nice opening line. People laugh and that. You know that I've been struck off the supplier list of one of the biggest banks in South Africa because I said, hello, my name is Renus. It sounds like, I said, not penis genius. They struck me off the supplier list because I used profanity on.
Oh, it must be the most boring.
Oh.
Imagine the most boring people in the world. I want you to name the bank because that is so lame that they need to be shamed for it.
First round.
You assholes,
First round.
really.
I thought they were quite aggressive.
What a bunch of food. That is so bad. Oh, first round. How embarrassing for you guys. Really.
Yes, man. But I couldn't help laugh. But yeah, but the other side. If I now tell you the other part, what somebody said, I will get into trouble because the guy who didn't save me has got a surname that sounds like Dick, but I'm not going to say it. And I was once told, so how did he get? But yeah, we all get to face these corporates. I mean, you faced them. You must have had a few cases against you for saying stuff.
I think you meet people, and some of them are very, very prudish. And we were talking about this great documentary, which apparently has got all the records broken on Showmax at the moment. It's called Sex in Afrikaans. And everyone, have you watched it?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I. We're going to watch this weekend because apparently it is fantastic. Got all these people who are now opening up about their real sex lives, and you know what Afrikaans people are like. They don't like to talk about that stuff too much.
No, they don't. No, we actually we seem to be very conservative, but we're not. You know, where do you think all the colored people came from? You know. We're not that conservative. You know, we came to Africa. We say we are so good. You know, exactly I got into trouble for this too. Where did the first colored arrive in South Africa? 9 months after Jan van Riebeeck. You know, so I got into trouble for that too. But be honest, that's what we did. You know.
All right, yeah. Renus achter in die hok says, "Yeah, Renus, the cuck talk is funny, but tell me how to get your book." So give us the email address again, renus@youcan.co.za.
Yes.
.co.za. All right, I'll put it on the screen then.
Sorry for the cuck talk, man, but you know what, Gareth? One thing I know, yes, we struggle to laugh in this country. In the minute you put a smile on your face, and that's in the book, the power of a smile. The minute you put a smile on your face, everything changes. You're hacking it at that very moment.
Right. Well, dude, I mean, that's also why we like having Suhayl on, because he makes us laugh. He's a comedian and a doctor. So,
Suhayl?
Yeah, he's very good. He's famous because his video at the moment is all anyone's sending to each other on WhatsApp. It's that Tinder Swindler thing that he put together for YouTube and TikTok. Yeah,
just man,
that's very good.
Yeah, you should check it out. I'll email it to you now that I.
So we've all got some homework. So we've got to buy groceries. With Airlift Express, right? We're going to do that this morning. We also have to check out the video that Suhayl made if you haven't already seen it. You also have to buy Renus's book, and we're all going to go and get belly rings in Hillbrow with Leigh-Ann later.
That's it.
Oh, great.
I hope we don't end up in game trolleys.
All right, listen, Renus, thank you so much, dude. Nice to hear from you, and we'll have you back again soon. Keep on helping people to hack their mental mindset. Right? Awesome, dude. Thank you. There's Renus Leroux, very cool. And if you want to get hold of his book or you want to talk to him, because he's really good at what he does, and he's one of those people you meet them and you don't forget them. Renus@youcan.co.za. There we go. Find out more. All right. So what we've got coming up is a little bit of George Meany in a moment or two, but let me quickly remind you that one of the worst parts of modern life, as if you need a reminder, has to be traffic. Sipiwe got caught in traffic early this morning. There was an accident on the highway. Yesterday, I was driving back from the office and I saw the police had basically shut down the N1 South. Like they blocked every lane. I think they were trying to find a crook, or maybe there was a cash in transit heist, or there was something. I mean, people were backed up for kilometers and it looked like all kinds of hell. So I don't know what actually happened, but traffic is the worst. It raises blood pressure, as you know. I mean, you could tell us about that, Suhayl. It lowers productivity.
We never really learned that in mid school.
What? Traffic
I
pushes
just
up
know
blood
it from personal
Yeah.
experience.
Spot on. It lowers productivity, gets you stuck in a place that you don't want to be. Not to mention the environmental impact, where you're just, pouring carbon dioxide into the atmosphere while you're stuck in some hot place on the highway. We all know what that's like. It's one of the challenges that smart cities are putting the most effort into, because if you can cut people's time in traffic down and you can make traffic more bearable, people will want to live in those smart cities. Well, on this week's episode of the Waterfall podcast, you will uncover some of Waterfall's solutions for better mobility. We also hear from a European smart cities vice mayor about long-term plans to make life better by improving pedestrian and bicycle access. So if you don't already know, Waterfall is an incredible development that is in Midrand. It's halfway between Pretoria and Johannesburg. It has all kinds of interesting and quirky things going on. They're doing the very best they can to make it the example, the shining example of a smart city in South Africa, and they're doing it right. So if you want to hear more, listen to the Waterfall podcast on cliffcentral.com at 10 a.m. or get the podcast wherever you listen, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever works for you. But listen to it. That's the Waterfall podcast, especially if you want to know how a smart city can work and how you can improve your own lifestyle, frankly, by getting some of that into your own world. All right. So still to come, George Meany. We'll get to that in a second or two. What are you working this whole weekend? What do you do on weekends? Are you really busy, Suhayl? What's the usual?
Depends on the weekend. This weekend I've got a show coming up. I'm doing a show tomorrow in Lenasia. Yeah, in the south.
Lens.
In Lens, at the Gandhi Hall. So yeah. The ticket sales are going really well. It's actually a charity show. I've teamed up with a community-based organization. They called Let's Do It Together for Education. And they provide educational resources for the pediatric wards at Charlotte Maxeke, especially the long stay ones. You've got kids that are there for like months on end, and they need books and resources because they lack teachers and schooling and things like that. So they provide tutors. They get textbooks and other educational resources. So we've teamed up with them to do my show, my one-man show, which I've been touring. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. But on the weekends, I'm not doing comedy. I'm probably working. That's what I do.
Well, before we get to George, Leigh-Ann has some interesting information. I don't know if you know this, but you think you can't smell your house. You actually can't, but other people can smell your house. And this may be useful information for those people who live in smelly, stinky houses. Leigh-Ann has just got a little bit of research to throw in before George joins us, and this may help you to have a less stinky house by Monday. You've got the weekend to sort it out. Go ahead, Leigh-Ann. What is it?
I've been thinking about it because I'm moving this weekend, and you know what it's like when you move into a new place. It can be completely empty, but it still kind of smells like someone else has lived there. And it takes a while for you to get over that.
Especially if someone very old has lived there.
Yes. And that's something completely different. And it's a certain chemical. But, you know, your place, you don't realize it, but it will smell of something. Even if it's something nice, like your laundry soap, you know. People might walk in and say, "There's what fabric softener do you use? Because I can smell it," but you probably don't pick it up. And it has to do with sensory adaptation. And that's just a scientific way to say that you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
And obviously the stimulus is repeated. So when you're at home, the smell of your house is all around you. But obviously you do get places with bad smells. And I've always been particularly
Trust me, I know,
sensitive.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm sure you go to the hospital and stuff.
I've been particularly sensitive to like mildew towels. Like when people haven't dried them properly and then they pack them away.
How do you actually get rid of that smell from towels? Because
throw the towels away.
Really, you have to start again.
I don't know. I would, but otherwise, you can actually soak them in a whole lot of different things, and tumble drying usually helps because it really gets the moisture out. But yeah, and also sometimes it's a dishwasher that might need to be cleaned, which is pretty gross.
Yeah.
There's a filter in everyone's dishwasher, and we're supposed to clean it out at least once a month, maybe every 2 weeks. And so that can also stink a bit. Yeah, and at least we don't have the problem that American houses in most cases do, where you've got 2 walls up that are made of wood and something has crawled into that crawl space between and died.
God. Like
at
a
least
dead
we
animal.
have like solid brick, so we're cool.
Well, Robin says that if you want to get rid of that mildew smell, you can boil the towel in bleach. But
Boil it in bleach.
How do you boil a towel? What can you put it in a big fat cauldron? I mean, what do you got, a witch's cauldron in your house? How do you have a pot big enough to put a towel in to boil it?
A big poiky pot.
What's like, Robin? What are you, insane?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can close to boil something in a washing machine. You can get up to 90 degrees, which is quite high.
Jesus.
But to boil, you need constant heat.
No,
like a fire.
I don't think look, I don't even know how my washing machine switches on. I've tried it once or twice and the thing almost exploded. So I don't know what I'm doing in there. I'm going to leave it to the experts. Let us get George Meany in here. This is what we do on a Friday. Hey, George, what's happening?
Morning, Gareth. How's
Morning.
it?
Suhayl and Leigh are waiting. We've been waiting for you, George. We were wondering if you were busy flying around the country or you were testing out some new electric vehicle. What are you doing?
Well, at the moment, not doing any of the above. I did drive the Audi e-tron the other day, which was quite exciting.
Nice.
But yeah, the electric vehicle and hybrids are ramping up in the country. I did fly my microlight the other day.
Oh, that's good news. George is a huge EV fan, Suhayl. So I don't know how you feel about electric vehicles or whether you prefer the old, internal combustion engine.
I haven't really driven an electric or a hybrid, to be honest.
You've come to the right place. George can tell you all about that.
I saw yesterday,
tell me all about it.
There's an electric bicycle I saw yesterday, which was developed, but it was too fast for its own good. And sometimes that can happen. Things can just be too fast. So they've had to find ways to make it perform less.
Yeah, it's a big problem. I think this is just my own opinion. I think that electric cars are going to have to start coming with some sort of dumbed down switch that you can turn on, because you can imagine a 19-year-old with a new driver's license in one of these cars. You've got standard sedans like the Model S Tesla that does 0 to 100 in under 2 seconds. It's mind blowing and a recipe to kill somebody who doesn't know how to ride or drive it.
Mm-hmm. No, we don't need any more reasons for people to wipe themselves out on the road.
Exactly. But that kind of takes me to the first story, Suhayl, which is Audi, has partnered with Grid Cars to take over the infrastructure that where Jaguar left off and some other kind of sponsors left off. And this is a good thing that a new automotive brand is taking on the charging network in South Africa. But Audi has now promised to put in up to 150 kilowatt chargers, DC chargers. They're going to put in another 70 chargers across the country at 150 kilowatts. And this means that you can charge a car from 10% to 90% in under 30 minutes, which is brilliant.
But it probably also means that you're going to be plugging in your car, which is a different brand, into something labeled Audi, right?
Yes, but we're doing that right now, right, Leigh-Ann? All of the chargers are branded Jaguar, but they're actually Grid Cars chargers. They're an independent charging infrastructure provider, and the chargers are actually just sponsored by that OEM, which is, I think, is a good thing. The charging infrastructure needs to be independent. If it's owned by one OEM, then you run into the risk of things like Tesla, where they restrict who can charge the cars on their networks.
Yeah.
Very, very good. What else have we got?
So I don't know if you're aware of the brand called Lotus. Lotus
Yes,
made,
sure.
made little sports cars. They also made the Lotus 7. I don't know if you remember the Lotus 7, which was a little like go-kart type thing. People used to build them in kit car form. Lotus was also one of the cars that originally Tesla was playing around with. They electrified the Lotus. So Lotus has now got onto this EV bandwagon and is making what's called the Type 132 electric SUV. I can just imagine, with Lotus being a sports car brand, little sports car brand, how quick and nice this little Lotus Type 132 is going to be. They haven't really revealed the actual car yet. They're busy testing it, but Lotus is now entering the fray as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. I saw some beautiful classic cars just over the last couple of months. You'll sometimes see them going off to some show on a weekend or whatever. But man, there's some of those old classics that are just the most beautiful. You'd see they looked after magnificently. People have polished the wood, and they've got these incredibly shiny like chrome grills. And I mean, when people look after a classic car, it's just a spectacle to behold.
No, absolutely. And, classic cars, if original, are just something to, you stand there and you look at it. And I mean, my mind with classic cars goes back to who's driven this car, where has it been? What has it seen? That kind of thing. And you were talking about smells before I came on, Leigh-Ann, and there is a specific smell in a classic car. I don't know if you've ever I don't know if it's the carpet getting old.
And in a new car.
Yeah.
And in a new car, yes.
So the new car smell is, I've got it right in front of me, is a heady mix of 50 to 60 volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, off-gassing in your car. So apparently they're not terribly
Did you say
dangerous.
off-gassing?
Off-gassing, yes.
What is off-gassing?
That's the first time I've ever heard that word too. Explain.
Well, the compounds are coming off of the object that they're on in a form of gas.
Oh, okay.
They're
So
off-gassing.
it was like a viscous.
Yes.
It easily converts from whatever it is, liquid or solid.
They're breaking down into another form.
Okay.
And apparently they break down quickly to the tune of about 20% decay every week. So that smell doesn't linger all that long.
20%. Wow.
It's a hell of a nice smell, though. It's the best.
It is
nice
smell.
Yeah.
It's apparently, if you leave a new car in the sun, that new car smell goes quicker. So the more you park it in the shade, the less, the longer that new car smell will linger.
Okay. Very nice.
Then
sorry, I'm just going to throw this in. Congo Chris says off-gassing is a medical term that lavatory experts like Leigh-Ann knows.
Good.
There you go. Very good. All right. I didn't know this, but apparently the Tesla Roadster is modeled off a Lotus. Did you know that?
Yes. So that's what I was referring to earlier. That's what Tesla was playing with right at the beginning before they started making their own, designing their own cars. It modeled off the Lotus. I think Lotus will get this right.
Cool.
I think Lotus.
I'm up for it. Nice.
And then Rough Seas delayed a salvage operation with luxury cars on its way to Europe. So the ship's name was Felicity Ace, and there were luxury cars from Porsches, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Audis, Hurricane, Aventadors, Uruses, and this ship was on fire, and they couldn't put it out.
Look at that! And all of those luxury cars were just burnt, and now they're going to throw them into the sea, or are they going to take them away and dump them in some like rubbish dump? It's so sad.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I know.
But also they found people alive on that boat while it was on fire, days and days later after it had caught fire. So these people had found crew and that sort of thing. These people were found in little corners of this boat alive.
But it just shows you that, like there are parts of the planet that if you get yourself there and into a situation, it's very difficult to get rescued.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine things like in the middle of the Amazon or at the top of some volcano somewhere where, you know, if something starts happening, you can't get rescued. It's got to be quite a scary thing. You're on the ship in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, or where this one was kind of near to Portugal or somewhere, and and you can see this. Nobody's coming.
There's a specific spot on the planet where you're officially the furthest away from land in any direction. And the ship that is tasked with dispatching to that area, if there's a problem with someone on board, like a medical emergency, that medical ship, it's like a ship ambulance, is based in Italy. And it takes days to get to that area. I mean, it's just not where you want to be.
I would think that it's probably somewhere in the Pacific, or am I wrong? I mean, from Italy to the Pacific doesn't sound like the closest possible place. But anyway,
I know exactly
where the furthest place on Earth is from land. That would be an interesting thing to look at.
I found out where it was, but of course I can't remember.
What else you got for us, George?
So finally, Gareth, locally and at home, there are new upgrades planned for South Africa's highways. Now, I don't know if you know, or don't know if you remember, it might be 10, 15 years ago in Gauteng, the ring road around Johannesburg, how much chaos there was as they widened that highway. So it doesn't look like that highway is on the cards again, but there's an infrastructure plan over the next couple of years to upgrade the N3 from Paradise Valley to Marion Hill Toll Plaza, KZN. Right. And then the N2 upgrade from Edwin Swales to south of EB Klutter, which is also in Durban. KZN. And then the N3 upgrade from Marion Hill to Key Ridge, which is also KZN. And then the N2 from EB Klutter at the EB Klutter interchange, which is also KZN. So that's what's coming in the future. It looks like a whole bunch of KZN upgrades. Maybe it's because of all the holidaymakers that go down there. And then current upgrades that are happening at the moment is the N1 development at Messina Ring Road, which is in Limpopo. And then there are 3 KZN upgrades at Cato Ridge, Linfield Park, and Murray Road that are busy happening at the moment. So it looks like KZN's getting a whole bunch of upgrades.
Well, that's good. Listen, I'm all in favor of the roads being upgraded, but I do remember when they did that upgrade. It was just before the 2010 World Cup, and it was chaotic. Squeezing people into one lane. I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion that I was stuck in some traffic yesterday, and I don't know what they were doing. The cops seemed to have blocked off the whole highway, and I still don't know what it was all about. But
I saw earlier it was something to do with a bus strike. Somebody commented the traffic was due to the driving schools striking about the new MVL bullcrap.
What is MVL?
What that is.
Motor vehicle license?
Motor vehicle license.
Huh. Okay. This is very cryptic. I'm not sure I understand, but okay. Maybe it'll be one of those mysteries that we just never solve.
Can't know everything.
George, thanks so much for being on the show. Suhayl, so great to see you, dude. And thank you for being with us this morning and sharing those hilarious stories, especially the stuff about Hillbrow.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so much fun, and we'll have you again soon, I hope. And keep up the good work. Don't forget, he's got a show on in Lenasia. So if you want to go,
and I've got shows next month in Johannesburg as well.
Go to those too.
I'll see you there, hopefully, Gareth.
Excellent.
And Leigh-Ann.
Damn right.
And George, come to my shows.
George, we've got to get out there again. People are going to start doing normal stuff. So I love it, and I love that comedy is back. And keep doing the good work. All right, everybody, we will see you on Monday.